In this video, I want to show you how I learned to think better using the video game Disco Elysium. I always wondered how thoughts work. They seem to appear out of nowhere, but at the same time, there is a sense of ownership. I was sure that I'm the one who thinks, but then sometimes I was horrified by my thoughts, hoping they are not what I truly am. When I started to meditate on the process of thinking itself, it became clear to me that there's little to no control over thoughts, and it is more like that there are many different voices in your head, all fighting for control, all wanting to convince you that they are what's important. This is the concept of the video game Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium is a narrative-driven RPG where the skill tree is the protagonist's mind, and depending on which skills you level up, your character has different thoughts and abilities. But these are not just skills in the game, they are voices in the protagonist's head, with their own personality and desires. They are like personified thoughts, trying to pull you into their narrative. They can give you the desire to punch a kid in the face or take upon a quest to find more cigarettes. It's the most interactive story ever written, and I have a lot of love for this game. But I always wondered how much this framework can be applied to real life. So in this video I will map this model into real life, to gain a deeper understanding of the mind, and to find out which voice is your actual true self. Logic. Wield raw intellectual power. Deduce the world. Logic is the voice I identify with the most. It gives me the ability to understand reality in a practical way, and most of my happiness I do attribute to the skill of logic. But like in the game, having any skill leveled up too high also leads to some pretty awful downsides. I got into fights with my ex where I thought that I was always being the logical one, that she was only being emotional, but I had the logical reasons to be upset. But here you can see what logic actually does. Logic figures out what you want and then just finds the best way to justify it. It connects ideas to fit its own agenda. This is why it's so obvious when others are logical, but if you get critiqued, you will quickly find the reason why it doesn't apply to you. Because what you really care about is never logical. It is usually a feeling, a desire, or the preservation of your identity. So the last thing that logic wants is to be wrong, so it will tend to pick and choose the facts that matter to it, so it can keep being right. When logic is able to deconstruct itself, it can be very useful, but if you believe that logic is the only thing that matters, it becomes mental poison. I bet you can notice that most of your awful thoughts are completely logical. This is why when logic pairs up with electrochemistry, logic becomes the main tool to justify self-destructive behavior. Electrochemistry. Go to pleasure planet. Love and be loved by pleasure. Electrochemistry is the part of me who doesn't care if cigarettes cause cancer. It's the sex-obsessed, drug-seeking lizard part of the brain which just wants to feel good. Logic usually loves to pair up with electrochemistry. Together they can come up with hundreds of wonderful reasons why now is not the time to work, and why actually it would be completely reasonable to roll a joint. When I learned how to quit my weed addiction, I described electrochemistry as the inner beast. These cravings for pleasure to me feel very aggressive and beast-like. But electrochemistry is not evil, because it fuels the idea that you do deserve to be happy. It wants to lose its sense of self in experiences. It just needs the help from other parts of your mind to not be so short-term oriented. This is where volition comes into play. Volition. Hold yourself together. Keep your morale up. Volition is the part that makes you think about your long-term goals and desires. It enables you to resist temptation and keeps your morale up. When electrochemistry wants pleasure now, volition will tell it to wait, so it can get even more fulfillment in the future. The inner beast might get on board with that. This pair is also the path towards spirituality, because electrochemistry is all about losing itself in a pleasurable existence, and volition as virtuous and long-term oriented. Following your volition though is hard, because it often feels like a betrayal to the other parts of your mind. It wants you to go against your instincts and observe a bit deeper into yourself before you react. It's the painful awareness of guilt or the scary thought of a traumatic event. But it does become easier over time. The more you act on any part of your mind, the stronger it becomes. This can be dangerous if your thoughts tend to be aggressive. Half-light. Let the body take control, damage and threaten people. Half-light is your fight or flight response. It injects aggression into your heart. Aggression that tells you to act before it's too late to act. Half-light has the ability to override all other skills in the split of a second. Your childhood experiences and past traumas configure how your half-light tends to react. It either wants to fight, flee, or it might get paralyzed. But what half-light sees as danger is where the problem lies. People get angry for all types of dumb shit. It's because we usually feel threatened in our identity, not our physical survival. The existential significance of surviving in a hostile world will get explored deeper later when we analyze authority. But for now, it's important to just be aware that everybody has an internal aggressor. Nowadays, it's common for men to be taught not to be aggressive, that violence is nothing but evil. But we were literally built to kill and survive. We are just too far removed now from our nature, so we have forgotten what it's like. A strong man can throw a punch. He just has the composure to choose not to. Composure. Straighten your back, keep your poker face. Composure wants you to not crack, or at least it wants you to not crack in front of other people. Composure enables you to keep the emotions hidden from the world and spot the body languages of others. You might be furious, but composure lets you put on a strong facade. It's the power of non-reactivity. Fact is that it's dangerous to be an open book to people that haven't gained your trust. Reading other people's body language is also a great hint to what they might be thinking. But if you go too far with it, you might end up as a shy social outcast. The danger of composure is to lose your authenticity, to always play mind games and hide how you are really feeling. Not being able to loosen up might keep your body composed, but internally you will be losing it. If you notice thoughts of self-judgment and inauthenticity, it's your volition questioning your level of composure. Try to find a balance. If you're watching this, it is likely you have a high interest in conceptual thinking. Conceptualization. Conceptualize ideas, see art in the world. The universe is in a constant flow of creating and destroying, so we humans do the same. I had this abstract notion of a video that explains part of the mind with Disco Elysium. Now it's done, and you are watching it. It's an odd thing to create. There always has been a certain conflict with the conceptual and the practical, the arts and the science. My YouTube channel is the attempt to make abstract ideas useful. There's a red button you can click under this video that communicates to the machine overlords that you like this type of stuff. It's also very satisfying for me to see that what I do connects with you. But be careful to not get lost in ideas or art. When you hold concepts for too long, they can evolve into a belief or an ideology. You can become so obsessed with an idea that your entire identity gets lost in it. But I talked deeper about self-destructive beliefs in the last video of mine. To convey the value of any idea with words, conceptualization pairs up with rhetoric. Rhetoric. The intellectual desire to understand and define words. It enables you to break down arguments and hear what people are actually saying. I hope that my rhetoric roles in this video have succeeded so far, and I'm explaining myself intelligibly. How much words mean can be so fascinating if you dissect them. Your mind quickly builds a logical narrative and grasps to something it can understand. Depending on which words you use, the fucking vibe of a sentence changes significantly. This is why the point of communication isn't really the words you use, it's what the other person gets from them. My logical part really needed to learn this. If you just state raw facts, you likely won't influence others how you wish you would. There's a lot that can be said in between the lines for effective communication. If your rhetoric is high, you tend to have a clear definition of the words you use. If your rhetoric is low, you use words as if dictionaries don't exist. It is important to define words, but arguing about definitions often is a waste of time. It is more productive to just try to understand what the other person is actually trying to say. As a general rule, if the person you want to reach can't understand you, you either use the wrong words or you're talking to the wrong person. But when talking to yourself with your thoughts, use rhetoric to figure out what you really mean. Define the words you use to talk to yourself. Often there's deeper meaning you're trying to express, some hidden emotion or self-judgment. Ask yourself, what do I mean when I say this? And go as deep as you can. Eventually, you will learn something about yourself. Inland Empire, imagination and gut feelings, dreams in waking life. Inland Empire is your imagination, but it's also the way your mind projects your current experience. It's the psychedelic part of your mind, experiencing the present with more depth. Wonderful visions of the future and scary hell realms can be accessed with your imagination. There's so many sensations going on every microsecond your mind filters out, and when you tune into them, the simplest sensation like your breath can inspire you or calm you down. But there's like a dreamlike quality to experience. On high levels of Inland Empire, you envision and manifest different realities into existence. You might even lose ground with reality if you go too far. But on low levels, you are void of imagination. The universe becomes cold and calculated, and you cannot imagine your future. You live like in a daze. There are a lot of skill pairs that cause behaviors to increase your Inland Empire. From drug-induced loss of self, to deep self-inquiry, or just a strong connection with art. Inland Empire is what a lot of people would associate with spirituality. The mind is a vast, but also a dangerous place. Sometimes it is necessary to ground yourself and come back to reality. A lot of people get lost in this part of their mind and lose touch with the practical world. Spirituality is best to be approached with a scientific lens. Sometimes you just need to force yourself out of it. Authority. Assert yourself. Show who is in control. Authority is closest to your ego. It's the part of your identity that is fighting for control. But it is a lot less about controlling others and more about convincing yourself that you are in control. That you know what is best and therefore people should follow your commands. With weak composure, you're very vulnerable to people who want to push their authority onto you. It will happen so easily because you will feel intimidated. But depending on how your authority skill is configured in your mind, you might actually like having others take control of you. Sexuality is one way we can live these desires out and fulfill these psychological needs, but only if one is mature enough to not get hurt. It is easy to look at weird kinks on the surface and to not question them much, but you do have to wonder how odd it is in how many ways we enjoy to dominate and submit to others. Thoughts of power and submission are existential in nature. There's a deep need for control and power embedded in survival. The entire world is exerting power over you, and being alive means having the authority to fight back, to own a corner in the world you can feel comfortable in. On a more micro scale, you also apply authority to yourself daily, when you do what you have to do, even when you don't feel like it. Or when you do the entire opposite of that because you say, fuck it, I can do whatever I want because I'm in control after all, right? Your level of authority also is determined by how much are you able to deal with pain. Pain threshold. Keep the pain coming. Pain threshold is your pain tolerance. It enables you to keep going despite how much your soul aches. You will need volition to keep you going mentally, but you need pain threshold to keep going physically. The body and mind is deeply interconnected. Your perception of pain is pretty much mental. The stronger your pain threshold, the more you can accept pain. You can even learn to like it. This is why working out and meditating is classical self-help advice. It levels up your volition and pain threshold. David Goggins has probably leveled this up to the absolute max. So on high levels, pain threshold is pretty much masochistic. On low levels, you struggle to get out of bed in the morning. Since you are alive, it is deeply unadvised to avoid pain. It's trying to avoid the inevitable. This is especially true for self-development work and investigating your mind. Negative thoughts need to be understood. If you're too afraid of any pain, you'll also avoid the mental work needed, because the body and mind are one. My pain threshold used to be non-existent. I was so scared of day-to-day life that it was really debilitating. It's another reason why I ended up smoking weed all the time, because I just couldn't deal with the pain. So for any kind of self-development work, you need to allow yourself to feel. Empathy, the part that breaks into the soul of others to feel what's inside. See sadness in somebody that might be kept on notice. Feel others' joy that does seem out of place. Empathy enables you to notice social cues others may miss and to see the depths of existence. With high levels of empathy, you feel more. You probably are overall less stable, but you might also argue that you're more alive. It enables you to enjoy deep connections with others that many are not able to. However, we have to be careful with our empathy. Feeling the pain of the whole world can easily become too much to bear. If you empathize with every struggle, you'll go insane. Empathy is a tool that should be used when it serves purpose and meaning. Now, if you're on the more empathetic side, you might say, but I can't turn off or choose who I empathize with. And you're partly right. We don't have full control over our mirror neurons firing, but if you constantly immerse yourself in negativity, bad news, and other people's problems, you're choosing where to point your empathy. I'd always struggled with accepting the suffering of the world, but after doing a ton of psychedelics, this got way worse. I needed to ground myself into my own experience again and to not connect with random suffering out there. Many pains are just not your burden to bear. Empathize with your own well-being first. Generally, if you feel better, you also make the lives of other people better too. On the other end of the spectrum, low empathy makes it enormously difficult to form real connections. You'll feel isolated and alone. There's a certain strength in being emotionally vulnerable. When you turn this vulnerability inwards towards yourself, you can even uncover profound truths about your existence. The depth of human empathy is hard to fully grasp, but it's also a tool that can be twisted for manipulation. Suggestion. Governing charm and charisma, wanting to be liked and attracting. Suggestion is the skill of pickup artists and sales gurus, OnlyFans girls and beggars on the street. This skill enables you to implant ideas in the mind of others and to be object of their desires. If you make others think that you have what they want, you've already won. There are a million different types of risk. It's with no question an extremely useful skill to have. But with too much suggestion, you become slimy. You might have all the influence in the world, but no real friendships. Every interaction just becomes a form of manipulation. Not balanced correctly, your life becomes an act. Drama. Be an actor. Lie and detect lies. Drama makes you see the world as a stage and you as just an actor there to perform. It enables you to create stories of yourself and to project a character onto others and to notice when others are projecting their facade. With high levels of drama, you can see through other people's intentions. You know when they are lying to you or when they're projecting a certain character that is probably an exaggeration of their true self. It also makes you prone to neuroticism and paranoia. But with too low drama, you cannot lie. You become naive and go unnoticed as a side character in life. The drama of your thoughts need to be carefully questioned. If you put your mind into the context of actual reality, you're just one more person on this planet. What you think is important to your mind. It is only as true as far as you believe in it, as long as you are alive. From this lens, all thoughts and feelings are completely made up. You are inventing a character. You are creating the drama of your life. And this invention isn't just projected to others, you do it to yourself. And this doesn't mean that nothing matters, but it means that reality is in a way a lie, an illusion that we construct collectively as a society, so that we can survive and enjoy art. There's a lot to appreciate in this illusion, in the character you play. If you can frame your life in this way, then you really have the freedom to ask, who do I want to be? So, we're done with the skills, but a very important question remains. If there's so many different voices, then how do you know which voice to listen to? If all of these skills are part of the mind, then you have to be either all of them or none of them. Maybe it's a question of which part you identify with the most. The tricky thing about identity is that it transforms all the time. You might think you know who you are, but then suddenly life moves on and you find that you are someone else. When we cling to our current self-image, we create a rigid identity and then it becomes painful to change. To overcome negative thought patterns, you want to hold onto your identity lightly, as something malleable. Good thinking is like thinking in a superposition. That means to allow different frameworks and ideas in your head at the same time, without feeling the need to quickly have to choose one of them. You can hold contradictions in your head, it's completely fine. Then over time, maybe merge these ideas or letting one fade away. Letting go of this autopilot allows yourself to feel the discomfort you normally avoid and to really understand what you truly want. Don't prematurely logic your way out of uncomfortable feelings. When you introspect, specify the words you use and what they mean. It's okay to feel anger, jealousy, or other edgy emotions. You'll find you can tolerate much more pain than you think if you take full authority over your body and mind. In examining the mind, you can see where you might be lying to yourself. There's almost always some lies hidden in any concept. When you empathize with your own experience, you can find out what you truly care about and maybe envision a world where this could happen. Acceptance means recognizing, to make peace with each thought as just one small part of a larger field of experience. You can then choose whether to act on that thought or not. But the choice will be more authentic, like an authentic expression of your whole self, because you aren't holding onto a slice of your identity. No thought will ever define you. You are an infinite shapeshifter. As long as you try to understand your internal conflict, you will evolve. Life is fun when you see yourself as a character to be leveled up. Because when the voices of your mind work together, you will find deep satisfaction in just being yourself. The only problem left is that the beliefs that you hold have complete control over your mind as well. Your thoughts and skills get filtered through your beliefs. This is what my last video, my self-destructive beliefs tier list, was about. I think this is a good video for you to watch next. Also, if your inland empire yearns for deep truths about the universe, then you will especially love this video, because it gets very existential in the second half. Talking about psychedelics and no self and shit. Shit got real serious.